Story 1. Original post. Am I the a-hole for refusing to talk to my ex after everything that happened? I, 34 male, am struggling with whether I'm in the wrong for refusing to talk to my ex, Sarah, 29 female, not her real name. There's a lot of history here, and I'll do my best to explain everything clearly. In mid-2022, I met Sarah at work, and we hit it off immediately. I fell for her quickly, and it didn't take long before we started dating. However, early in our relationship, Sarah broke up with me over something minor. To make matters worse, she made a scene in front of everyone at work. I was devastated, but didn't want to leave my job at first. Eventually, I realized I still had feelings for her, and seeing her every day became too painful. That's when I decided to quit and find a new job. We lived close to each other, so we bumped into each other frequently over the next few months. We started talking again, but even though I still had feelings for her, I couldn't bring myself to consider getting back together. What she had done hurt me deeply. After a couple of months, she told me she regretted breaking up with me over something so minor. She admitted that doing it in front of everyone was wrong, and that she had been thinking about it ever since. She seemed genuinely remorseful, and I could see she meant it. Feeling that her apology was sincere, I asked if she wanted to give our relationship another try. She agreed, and by early 2023, we were officially back together. 1 year later, things were going great. We talked about marriage and building a future together, which made me feel ready to take the next step. I decided to surprise her with a proposal and started working extra hours to save for a house so we could marry not long after. I didn't tell her why I was working so much because I wanted it to be a complete surprise. Then, out of nowhere, she asked for a break. I was blindsided, and when I asked why, she refused to explain. Around the same time, I noticed she had been talking nonstop about a new guy at her workplace, but suddenly she stopped mentioning him altogether, which made me suspicious. Confused and hurt, I reached out to one of my close friends, Emily, not her real name, who, along with her boyfriend, still worked at the same place as Sarah. I vented to Emily about what was going on and asked if she knew anything. She said she didn't because she worked in a different department, but she promised to ask around. A few days later, Emily got back to me. She told me that Sarah had been feeling like I was distant lately, especially with me working extra hours and not going out much. Emily said some of Sarah's colleagues had been encouraging her to take a break, claiming I wasn't treating her well and wasn't as invested in the relationship. On top of that, they were trying to match her up with the new guy at work, saying they'd make a better pair. I told Emily about my plans to propose and buy a house for Sarah and me. That was the reason I'd been working so much. I wanted to surprise her with something big. After about 2 weeks, Sarah called me and asked to meet up. I agreed, but told her up front that I needed an explanation for why she wanted a break before we could discuss anything else. She brought up how distant I had seemed, saying it made her feel like I wasn't as invested in the relationship anymore. I told her that if she had just talked to me about it, she would have known there was a reason for my behavior, but now it didn't matter anymore. Then she mentioned the new guy at her workplace. I said his name before she could, and she looked surprised, asking how I knew. I told her I wasn't an idiot. I'd noticed how she suddenly stopped talking about him after bringing him up all the time. She swore that she had never cheated on me. I replied that looking for someone better at the first sign of trouble could be considered cheating by some. At that point, I told her I didn't want to hear whatever else she had to say. Whether or not she wanted to get back together didn't matter. I was breaking up with her regardless. The breakup deeply hurt me. I couldn't bear staying in the same place, so I asked my company for a transfer and used the money I'd saved for the proposal to start over in a new city. While talking to Emily, the friend I had vented to before, she apologized to me. She admitted that she had slipped up and told Sarah about my plans to propose and buy a house. Emily said Sarah broke down crying after hearing that. I appreciated Emily's honesty, but it didn't change what had happened. By mid-December last year, I returned to my hometown to spend Christmas and New Year's with my family. Some friends wanted to organize a party to get everyone together, since many of us, myself included, had moved away and were only visiting for the holidays. Sarah was invited too. We barely interacted that night, just a quick hi in passing. At one point, I glanced at her and saw her smiling while chatting with a group of women. That smile brought back so many memories. I realized that seeing her smile still made me feel the same way I did the first time I saw it. I thought to myself, how screwed up am I that I still feel this way? Despite those lingering feelings, I was still sad and deeply hurt by how things had ended. Looking back, I also started to blame myself. I should have paid more attention to how she was feeling. I could have told her about the extra work and why I was doing it. Maybe things would have turned out differently. Later that evening, one of my friends mentioned that Sarah's relationship with the guy from her work had only lasted a couple of months. After the holidays, I planned to return to the city where I now lived. My vacation ended on January 6th, so I decided to leave on Friday. That way, I'd have Saturday to sort everything out at home and prepare for the week ahead, with Sunday to relax before going back to work. Before I left, one of my friends from back home called me. He said he had a favor to ask on behalf of someone else and warned me that I wouldn't like it. I could already feel my stomach sinking. Then he told me it was Sarah. She was moving to the same city where I lived to work at her relative's company, and she needed a ride. He asked if I could take her. I didn't even think about it before I said no. The idea of being stuck in a car with her for hours was too much to bear. It would have been painfully awkward, just like the party, and I wasn't ready to put myself through that. He told me that Sarah and I needed to talk, but I wasn't having any of it. I went back home, and last week, I went for a run and stopped to rest a little in a park when I heard a familiar voice say, "Hi." It was Sarah. She tried to start a conversation by asking how I was and mentioning that we didn't get a chance to talk at the party, but I cut her off, saying I didn't want to talk to her. She told me not to be like that we needed to have a conversation, but I said no. She asked how I could still resent her after almost a year and after everything we'd been through, but I told her it wasn't resentment. I was very honest. I told her that thinking about her, talking about her, or even seeing her still hurts a lot, and that's why I couldn't talk to her. She said that was exactly why we needed to talk. I didn't see the point. I just walked away. Since then, Sarah's tried to approach me twice more, and I've shut her down both times. Some of my friends think I'm being too harsh and that I should talk to her for closure. Others say it's not okay to torture her over what happened forever, but that's not what this is about. I don't have any resentment or negative feelings toward her anymore. I even recognize now that I share some of the blame. But it still hurts. I can't talk to her because it's like reopening an old wound that never fully healed. So, am I the a-hole here for refusing to talk to her? Now for the comments. Some people might say you need closure, but it seems like you've already processed a lot of the situation, and talking to her could just bring up more pain. You don't owe her anything, especially when it's affecting your well-being. You've already made it clear how you feel, and you're setting boundaries, which is important for healing. That's what I think. But I don't know. Sometimes I'm not sure. Not the a-hole. She wants closure because she needs it. Don't do it. Leave her behind. Remember, first sign of trouble and she ran off to cheat with some creep. She deserves nothing but contempt and silence. She doesn't want closer. She wants another chance to get back in with him. I don't know if that's the case, really. Moving to your city, wanting a ride there where you're trapped in the car with her for hours, ignoring your rejections and being persistent, those are not the actions of someone who wants closure to move on. That is someone trying to wiggle their way back into your good graces. Not the a-hole. Sarah is a problem. She breaks up the first time in an overly dramatic and humiliating fashion that affects your job. She regrets it. Love bombs you into round 2. You are all in and preparing for a future with her, when once again, Sarah is dissatisfied with the relationship. You're here bending over backwards to make this your fault that you were working so hard. I hate that for you. I'm bothered you can't see how this is on Sarah. Instead of communicating her concerns with you like an emotionally intelligent, mature adult, she demands a break in the relationship. Back then, Sarah's commitment to the relationship is so shallow that coworkers can talk her into peer pressure, her into a relationship with another coworker. To be clear, she was monkey branching you. You are a placeholder until something better comes along for this woman. Now that she knows you were planning on proposing, she's stalking you to a new city, showing up wherever you are demanding to talk, so she can love bomb you back into round 3. This woman is no good for you. You deserve better, but you'll never find it with Sarah monopolizing your time. Please keep refusing to have anything to do with your ex. Update. Hey everyone, I wanted to give an update and thank you all for your input. I took the time to read through every comment, and while I didn't respond to all of them, it was only because I didn't have anything to add. I'm truly grateful for everyone who shared their thoughts. It has been incredibly helpful. After reading everything and thinking it through, I've decided to stick to my decision not to talk to Sarah. Something I forgot to mention in my original post, though I did tell a few commenters, is that I blocked her everywhere after we broke up the second time. Over the last few days, it seems like her persistence has started to backfire. Some of our mutual friends, including the ones who initially told me I should talk to her, have become frustrated with her constant attempts to contact me. Apparently, they've started turning on her because of it. 3 days ago, Emily, the friend I vented to back then, made a post on social media about stalkers. She didn't name Sarah, but a lot of people picked up on what she meant. I've also seen several comments on my original post suggesting that Sarah might have been stalking me. Her job in the same city and her coincidental appearance at the park all line up with that theory. For what it's worth, I know her uncle owns a company here, so maybe that is really why she moved. But honestly, it's not my problem, and I'm not going to look into it. Things have been quieter. Friends have dropped the subject, and Sarah hasn't tried to reach out again. That is, until yesterday. I watched the UFC event with some coworkers. When it ended, I was heading to my car when my phone rang. It was one of our mutual friends calling. She said she had been talking to Sarah and asked if she could pass along a message. I sighed, but told her to make it quick. The message was simple. Sarah said she understands why I don't want to talk to her. She promised she wouldn't try to reach out again, but added that she still thinks we need to talk. She said the door is open if I ever want to. I told my friend I didn't have a message to pass back and asked her not to bring up Sarah again in our conversations. If what Sarah said is true, it's a relief. But I'm not holding my breath. I wouldn't be surprised if she tries something else. Maybe she thinks giving me space will make me go to her, but it won't. That chapter of my life is closed. Right now, I just want to focus on myself. I probably won't be dating anyone anytime soon. If there is one thing I've learned, it's that I need to get to know people better before jumping into a relationship. I've also been thinking about how loosely I use the word friend. That is another part of my life I need to rethink. Some of the people I have called friends have proven they don't have my best interests at heart. A few people suggested therapy in the comments, and I'll admit, it is something I've been considering. For now, I'm giving myself time to heal on my own. But if I still don't feel right after a while, I will look into it. Thanks again to everyone who took the time to comment. Your advice has been a huge help in sorting all this out. Now for the comments. Good for you for sticking to your boundaries. It sounds like you're taking positive steps for yourself. This is exactly why monkey branching is a terrible dating practice. It's cheating with extra steps. That's why she keeps pushing. She knows what she did, just like she knows what she lost. Yet, ironically, she's too naive to understand that even if y'all got back together, you don't look at her the same. That's totally understandable. Not the a-hole. And I'm actually going through something similar. Thank you for giving me some clarification on my own situation. I was leaning into standing firm, but was being told to be the bigger person. Friendships and relationships shouldn't be inherently painful. Completely cutting off someone over something minor is an extreme overreaction. Even if they apologize, the trust is broken, if not gone. And once the trust is damaged, it's hard to recover and see a future. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for making my sister almost lose her job after I refused to babysit for her ever again? After I found out she's sleeping with her deadbeat ex but not expecting him to help with his son? Am I the a-hole? My mom says I overreacted and that I'm being a huge a-hole, but I just feel so used. I, 24 female, have an older sister, 27 female, who has a 9-month-old son. She doesn't make enough to pay for daycare in our area, but makes too much to qualify for assistance, so me and my mom help her with her baby. My mom watches him Tuesday and Thursday, and I watch him Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm in grad school and take my classes online, so it's been a struggle to watch a baby and also be in my Zooms and do my work, but it's worth it since I love my nephew. We all live together, by the way. My sister has been a single mom from the beginning. He denies being the dad, sent her horrible messages, and is a deadbeat. He wasn't at the birth, not on the birth certificate, and hasn't seen his son ever. A complete deadbeat. She put him on child support, but he works under the table and doesn't pay anything because she says he's unemployed but has the money to live. Honestly, I feel like a single mom at this point with how much I help her, so it disgusts me with how big of a deadbeat he is. There's times when my mom is watching him and gets called into work, and I have to watch him even if I had watched him the entire day before. My sister also works as a hotel manager and gets called in all the time to cover shifts, so there's time when it's 11 p.m. and she wakes me up to watch him so she can go to work. I had no issue helping my sister until I found out she was still sleeping with her ex. The same ex that denied and insulted her child, has never met him, and has never done anything for him. Right before finals last semester, my sister woke me up at 11 p.m. to tell me the night audit girl called out, and she had to go in to cover for her. I had a huge proctored test the next day, but agreed, because my mom was working an overnight, so there was no one else. He was up all night crying, so by the time she got back at 7 a.m., I was exhausted, and I ended up not doing that well on my test. I was fine with this until a few days ago when I got home and overheard my sister gushing on the phone about have sex with a guy, and I was surprised since I didn't know she was seeing anyone, and I asked her who she was talking about. She looked so shocked I was back and overheard, and she ignored me. But her friend on the phone said, "Oh, she doesn't know you've been effing Jake again?" Jake is her deadbeat baby daddy. I was so shocked. My sister looked so guilty and hung up the phone and broke down crying, saying she's been hanging out with her ex for the past 2 months. The deadbeat ex. The one that's a deadbeat. To her kid. I was disgusted. She told me she just loves him so much and missed him. I asked her with how much she works. How the hell was she able to see him? And she told me she would meet him at rooms at her job and lie to me and my mom about working. I asked her if the night she left before my test was it a real shift or fake, and she said fake. That's when I lost it on her and told her she's disgusting. That wasn't the first assignment I had to sacrifice time with because of her going to work at all hours of the day. But she knew this was an important final I had in the morning and still lied about working just to sleep with her deadbeat ex? I've never felt so disrespected. I told her that me and my mom have been bending backwards to be her baby daddy since the actual one won't step up, and that her sleeping with him is not just a slap in the face to me and my mom, but to her son. Sleeping with an ex that did you wrong is one thing, but one that got you pregnant, abandoned you to take care of your child alone, and is a deadbeat is just pathetic. She said she can't believe that I'm mad, and it's her body, and she can sleep with whoever she wants. I told her then she can ask him to watch his son, since they seem to be in good terms, and that I will never watch her son again. If the father isn't expected to be a dad and is rewarded for it, why should I? I just can't wrap my mind around how a woman can be turned on by a man that is a deadbeat to her own child. But will give me and my mom attitude if we make plans because it can interfere with her childcare? I don't know if she thought I was joking, but yesterday she came into my room since Friday is the day I watch her son, and she placed him on my bed and walked out, dressed to go to work. I picked him up and followed her and told her that she can take him to his father because I won't be watching him. Not even for pay. She started crying, asking if I'm serious, and I said I was very serious. She can message him to sleep with him, but she can't ask him to watch his child? According to her, he's unemployed, so surely he has the time. She said he doesn't want to watch him, and I told her, oh well. She ended up leaving with him and brought him to her friend, but she arrived to work late, and the regional manager was there, and she got written up for being 30 minutes late. She told my mom, and they're both so mad at me and have been giving me the silent treatment. But my mom says she's disappointed in me since no matter what we need to support my nephew, and no matter my sister's choices, I shouldn't let it stop me from being a good aunt. And am I the a-hole? Am I really? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. She lied to you and made you do poorly on an exam. Who knows how many other times she has lied about having to work. She has no respect for you. I get your nephew is innocent. However, that doesn't give your sister the right to disrespect you. Do not enable her behavior. Your sister is correct that she can sleep with whomever she wants. She's a big girl, making big girl decisions. Unfortunately for your sister, those same decisions come with big girl consequences. Time for you to move out, where your sister and mom cannot harass you into watching your nephew when it is not convenient for you. Question: is your sister taking steps to make sure that deadbeat dad does not knock her up again? Or is she trying for 2 kids from the same deadbeat dad? You all 4 of you really, have gotten into certain habits. Habits that benefit your sister and nobody else. You are trying to break those habits. It will not go easy, but it will be worthwhile. Stand your ground. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole, but your sister should lose her job. What paying guests do in the privacy of those rooms is one thing, even though they are doing the same thing. However, your sister is actually stealing by using those rooms as her own personal brothel, and doing it during her work hours, I'm sure. Please don't feel bad. They're giving you the silent treatment. Your mother is an enabler, but the more quiet you get, the better it will be for you, so you can study and go on with your life. Shame on all the adults over there, except you. And I do use the term adults loosely, because your sister, mother, and her baby daddy don't have enough sense to get their crap together to care for your beautiful nephew. Oh, tell your mother, since she was kind enough to remember how you're all family, then she and your sister can support you and your decisions too. Thank you for listening. If you like the video, consider like and subscribe. If you want more stories like these, turn on your notification to receive the latest stories.